Hello guys, welcome back to the Dose of Libertad, and here's Titty Hunter.
Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to be talking the 1989 Mexican Libertad. Stay tuned.
Your winner by unanimous decision, and still World Heavyweight Champion of the World, the Mexican Libertad. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Titty Hunter.
Before we talk about the 1989 Libertad, for those of you out there, I'm sure most of you know, if not, if you've been sleeping under a rock, silver has broken out this week. Huge breakout. On the spot side, we're in the 38s, and on the future side, on Friday, we have even hit 39. And what I am showcasing here on the screen that you'll see, this is from Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter. I don't care whatever anybody says. This is charting gold and silver going back to the 70s. And what it's highlighting is essentially that silver always seems to lag initially, and then when it does catch up, it catches up quick, violently, and many times even overshoots. So what's clear right now with the breakout, it looks like we're going to easily be going to 50. And if silver overshoots gold, then 60 or 70 in the short term before getting a correction, that's not out of the cards. So, I mean, pay attention to this. This is happening now. Don't get left behind. You better pick up your Libertads now before the prices shoot up. I wanted to talk about one other thing before getting started on showcasing the 89 Libertad. Everybody's been talking about this whole month. Essentially, there's a bunch of information circulating out there, predominantly coming from a lot of dealers, but none of the big dealers, not your app Max, not like your Modern Coin Mart, nothing like that. You're not getting any announcements out of them. It's smaller dealers. And so then they really hyped it up because this coin article came out called A Black Swan for the Libertad series. And it's regarding one specific dealer. And I mean, some folks think it's credible because this dealer is actually on the authorized list of distributors here in the United States, Pat Stovall. He's the son-in-law of the late Don Bailey. And the rumor is that there is only, due to dire economic circumstances, they're only going to mint 300 1-ounce BU/MS Silver Libertads. I mean, I don't consider this an official source. And it's been brought to my attention on good faith, and I can't share it, but I got to see some of the alleged emails that dealers have received. I don't know. It looks a little sketch to me. I don't see a from on these emails that I saw. I just saw the body of it, and I saw that there was words that were conveniently forgotten to be translated into Spanish that were there in English. So that jumps out at me as being sketch. But what I want to say is this. So here I'm on Banco de Mexico's website, and in the top right, there is a search button in Spanish. Se dice buscar. And so we come in here, and the quickest way to get to what you are looking for is to do a search for CM27, as you're seeing there. And the link it provides for you takes you to the tables. There's a little thing that's a little confusing, and it's a glitch that seems to be in their website. It says up here in kind of what it's talking about, the overarching filters for the data being displayed, that it is for the years 2000 through 2024, yet the table you're seeing here is only showing 2022 through 2024. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but if you go here to exportar series, what this does, it lets you export the table. And if here you have 2000 and then you actually export, you get to choose like what type of file you want. Most people are going to want an Excel spreadsheet, and you can choose XLSX. That's one of the options, and there's a bunch of others like CSV and whatnot. And in that way, you can go all the way back to 2000. But this is the official source for me. When it's published here, then it's real. If a couple of what I'd consider mid-sized dealers are telling me that they're only minting 300, that's great, but you are not Banco de Mexico. Until it's here, when it is here, then okay, it's official. For some crazy reason, there's then only 300. But I can't imagine the Mexican government minting only 300 of them. At least I get it on the proof side. We've seen as low as 100 for the 99 5-ounce proof Libertad. There was only 100 of those made, but I mean, that's the proof side. The proof side is known for very small mintages for some years, other years of 500, 600, 1,000 and change, 2,000, like really low numbers. But if they do this on the BU side where you have the most collectors, you're going to scare off a chunk of the collectors. They're going to say, hey, if I can't even get my hands on a 2025, why am I going to even bother going after the other years? I can't imagine them doing this. And that's why I'm sticking to my hypothesis that this is just a bunch of FOMO going on. One of the other stories I've heard is that it's coming from dealers that there's a scarcity of 2023 Libertads, the 1-ounce Libertads out there, because these companies that I'm sure you've seen them on eBay and other websites, you can buy these colorized Libertads that use a bunch of designs, catchy designs, artwork to kind of get you to buy them, and then they flip them for $100, even to up to $150. The dealers say, oh, because they're making so many of those colorized featured ones, the available mintage that are not colorized is much lower. I don't buy that. Bullion Cat was sharing with some of us. He was looking at some tables. There's other tables available here on Banco de Mexico's website showing, okay, these are the minted amounts, but then they have a whole nother featured series of tables showing how many are circulated per year. And just going back through that, it almost seems like there is an abundance of 2023s, given that the mintage kind of went up relative to prior years for 2023. It's my hypothesis that that's just a little contrived story that dealers have come up with to move inventory they have of 2023s. So I'm not trusting what dealers have to say. You got to understand, a dealer is in business. They're there to make money. So whatever it is that they have to do to make money, they're going to do so in whatever method they prefer. And sadly, not all, but a lot of them prefer to make money up front than to bring in a collector and keep them as a long-term client. They seem to be so focused on just the short term, and they're giving up long-term gains by doing so. So unless I see it here on Banco de Mexico's website, when it is official, then if I see 300 here, whenever it gets published, then it's official, then I'll believe it. But until then, I'm not going to, and neither should anybody else. So let's talk about the 1989 Libertad and focus in on the mintage first. So there's almost 1.4 million that were minted of the 1989. And interesting, like we've seen like some of the earlier coins, like the 88 that we saw last time at 1.5 million. There's that same type of divergence where the NGC total population, you only have 593 graded, and on PCGS side, only 574 graded. And in terms of graded scarcity, that's a lot more scarcer than what's indicated by the amount of mintage out there. But I'll highlight again, less than 1% for most years of the minted coins are actually graded. So there's a lot of uncertainty. If we look at this graph we've looked at for prior years, the 1989 has a lot of those same characteristics as the 88, and very similar as we will see for like 1990, for example, and even 1991, the type 1 variant, but we'll talk about that in later videos. But it's essentially, you have a whole lot of mintage, over 1 million. But if you look at those bar charts at the bottom, which indicate the total population at NGC in the blue bar, and the total population of graded coins at PCGS. And the red bar, you just see it's really low. That's that divergence I was talking about. There's a lot of mintage, but hey, if there's so much mintage, why aren't there more graded out there? So we're on NGC site, locking in, getting some more details here on the 89 in terms of the mintage. The one thing I have not pointed out in the spreadsheet, the colored cell spreadsheet I've shown earlier, is for these what I called contrived varieties, these double dyes in particular and whatnot, and missing feathers and all that. One, if those are not true varieties, like the antique, like the 91 type 2, if they're not true varieties, I don't make a separate row for it in that spreadsheet, and I simply add up the multiple varieties, total population, and then put them in the spreadsheet. So that's why the numbers, if you were to go and rewind and listen and see that table again, you'll see the numbers are different, but that's what's going on. So the 89, like the one in the picture, there's a total population, 581 of them graded, and the highest grade that exists right now, the top pop, is 68, and there are 15 of them. We talked about these plus 67 plus 67 star. That's because they saw something like non-artificial toning or some other element in the coin that makes it stand out to give them that star after the grade or the plus. But then 67s, we have 143 of them, and 66s, 256. And I did not mention it till now, and you'll see it on the little screen on the bottom right. They actually have a double die reverse number 1 for 1989. So this was actually the last of these contrived varieties. I call them contrived because I keep telling you, back in the 80s, Don Bailey explicitly stated in his couple of books, he said, the quality control at the mint was just not there. It was lacking in the 80s. So you're gonna have a lot of this like machine double dying, like just not true double dying, not true scarcity, not true rarity. So this was the last one I picked up. This is pretty much like after I picked this one up and then they came up with the one in the 88, I said, that's it. That's enough with the nonsense. They're literally NGC's just looking to milk its customers by generating new contrived varieties so they could collect variety plus fees. It's outlandish. But here, this was the last one I got. The mintage, it's low because it's a rather new variety that NGC started handing out. So this number is going to be rather low. There's 62 of them already in the population. The top pop is grade 67, and then the bulk of them are at grade 66. And here you could see both of them on screen maximized, and let's get ready to zoom in. All right, here we're zooming in on the plain 89, the one with the plain label, and just taking a look around at the different coin elements, see what we see. As we've seen in others, I had ones without the designation, and they had a bunch of double dyeing going on. One seems to be okay there. There's some double dyeing there on the border. Interesting. Let's check out Ontha. Nothing. Kind of, but not really. Let's go down here. There's definitely some machine double dyeing there on the 9. 8. A little bit on that 9, not as much as the other 9. Mexico. Just a shadow, not really a double dye. Lay. A little bit on the inner curl on the E there. And then 999 silver purity. A little bit on the inner curls there. And let's check out mint mark. A little bit on the little circle there. Plata pura. A little more than just a shadow, yeah. So if I wanted to, I could ship this back to NGC and, for another $18 or $19, whatever it's at now, I can ask for a double die reverse here because there's some indications of that. But it's quite honestly going to be prevalent across a whole lot of them. Here we're looking in at the double die reverse. Let's check it out. Starting from the angel's face. Move on to the left side. Not as bad as the other one on the borders. Here's the one. Check out Ontha. Not really. So far, not really. Let's check out our 89. Okay, the 9 again, just like my plain one. There on the inner curls, particularly. The 8 on the inside of the circles. Not too much there. Mexico, a little bit there on the right of the M. Not really on these. Lay. 999. A little bit in the inner circles there of the 9s. That's there. Let's check out Mexican mint mark. Just a tad on the little circle. And let's check out Plata Jura. I gotta be honest with you. I think my other one has more double dyeing going on than this one. So yeah, this is just one of these NGC, let me pick your pockets. Send us some cash and you could have this variety. That's how I feel about it. Thanks for watching this video on the 1989 Libertads. Stay tuned for 1990.